It's a BumbleKast Mini, sponsored by Jara.
All these questions are about Sonic Rush and the Soul Dimension. So, let's get started. Jara's got 3 questions to start off before we get into questions from other folks about this topic. I wonder what kind of political system the Soul Empire has. Is it more of a constitutional monarchy, or are all of the decisions made by nobles and royalty?
We don't know. We know it's an empire because she's an imperial princess, and that's about it. There's some throwaway dialogue in Team Sonic Racing that implies there's some form of aristocracy or nobility or something that has kind of political power play, but we don't know anything beyond that.
Does Blaze's world in the Soul Dimension have humans? If so, do they live on continents or on islands primarily? Would you say the demographic of animal peoples to humans is 50-50 or more of one and less than of the other?
We have no idea if there are humans on Blaze's world.
Humans?
The implication from Rush Adventure is that it's largely dominated by islands, but I don't know if that is the whole planet or if that's just our little sample. You know, we've seen so precious little of that world.
You don't need humans. What do you need them for?
We really don't, but you know, it's a possibility, I guess.
Stinky. They need to go away. And the last question from Jara. Would the events of Sonic Underground or Sonic SatAM have been different if either kingdom bordered the Soul Empire?
SatAM, I'm inclined to say no, because from what I remember, Robotnik took over the planet, like just straight up mine now. And taking over Mobotropolis was like the move. So in that scenario, the Soul Empire would have been a neighboring country, but not strong enough to repel Robotnik. It would just mean that, you know, Blaze is another freedom fighter fighting for her own statehood and her own title, which would be really darn cool. But with Underground, and again, this is my sketchy memory, so I could be off base. If I am, please comment below and correct me. But from what I remember there, Robotnik's takeover was more of a political coup and less giant mechanical dirigible, you know? It was that he had played the nobility to his favor and they were supporting him. So in that regard, I would assume the Soul Empire doesn't endorse him, but maybe doesn't challenge him either to maintain sovereignty, you know, to keep the peace, which would be an interesting storyline in and of itself. Is, you know, is peace worth it if you're standing by and letting evil happen in the rest of the world? You know, do the Sonic and the band come over and they're rejected because they're seen as freedom fighters? You know, we can't have that political instability, but you're fighting for a righteous cause. What would Blaze choose to do? That could be really interesting.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. A lot more interesting than what's going on with the Soul Dimension now, which is, what? Does not exist, basically, other than for Blaze to live there. It's purgatory. She just exists there. She's not allowed to be there. Or she's not allowed to be anywhere else until the story dictates it. All right, let's go ahead and get into some standard questions about this topic that are sponsored by Jara.
By Jara?
Yes. Yes, indeed. Here's a question from TickTick. How does Blaze's dimension hopping work? Can she pick where she appears in either dimension? Is it random? Is it determined by the will of the Soul Emeralds?
That is not terribly clear, but it seems that she has gotten better at it with time and practice. So I don't know if she can do like a pinpoint precision jump, or if it's like, I want to be in Sonic's general vicinity and it works. It's not clearly defined or explained.
Yeah. Here's a question from Duck Dealer. What do you think would have happened had Sonic not regained his memories following his time in the Soul Dimension?
If we had had more time, with that. It would have been fun to see a more casual, non-adventurous Sonic just kind of hanging around the palace, and Marine kind of shadowing him, trying to prompt those memories, trying to get him back to his old self through various forms of chicanery. But he'd always come back. It's Sonic. Nothing can keep him down. He'll always rebound eventually.
Yeah, but having some more time there would have been fun. It would have been a good excuse to, like, you know, show this dimension, show this empire, show Blaze's world. But alas. This one is from Chatty Phantom. If Rush happened first, before Sonic 06, why does Blaze tell Silver to go ahead and kill Sonic? Why does Blaze not think to look for Sonic, Amy, and Cream? Why does she not react to Sonic as someone she's familiar with when they meet at the end?
All very good questions, and I have no satisfying answer.
The answer is Sonic 06's story was unfinished, just like the rest of the game. Here's one from SSL 2004. Is it possible that we could ever see Cream and Blaze's relationship touched on again? Because ever since Rush Adventure, Blaze basically pretends she doesn't even exist, despite her arguably having more of an effect on her than Sonic.
The standalone Blaze story in the 2022
the annual? Yeah.
Which year was that? Regardless,
yeah.
When she decides to finally take a vacation on Earth, the first thing she does is goes to Cream's place. So,
yeah.
Granted, we could see more of them together, to be sure, but it's not like that's been completely forgotten.
Well, who knows? Maybe it will happen again. Metal Skulkbane is here with a question. Mobian Biology 101. Are Soul Mobians different in biology, culture, or anything else? Are we even sure she lives in another dimension and not slightly to the left behind some mountains no one checked, like new regions in Pokemon?
We have to go to this whole new dimension. Wait a minute. What's that banging sound? Are you building more Soul Dimension behind that mountain? I don't think they're biologically any different. Culturally, I imagine there would be some differences, but the cultural differences within Sonic's Earth are minuscule. Anyway, the only really truly distinctive thing is that the Soul Dimension is kind of behind Earth in terms of technological level. They're more rustic, but they still have a comfortable level of living. They have indoor plumbing and such. So just they're more like, I don't know, maybe Missouri levels, but not like Empire City or Grand Metropolis levels.
No, they're not Missouri levels, Ian. They're Nebraska levels.
Not Missouri, Missouri.
I mean,
you Weisenheimer.
That's what you said. I didn't say it. You said it, not me.
Yeah, you know what I said. I know what I said. I said what I said.
Well, this next person is going to tell you to Jez Chill 983. I was wondering, since the Chaos and Soul Emerald seem to share very similar powers, is it correct to assume that the Chaos Emeralds can do interdimensional travel like the Soul Emeralds? I'm asking this because at the end of Sonic Rush Adventure, Blaze speculates that the Emeralds, without specifying which set of them, may have summoned Sonic and Tails to the Soul Dimension on purpose. And Tails mentioned that he was able to build a ship capable to travel back home because the energy of both sets of Emeralds acts to form a sort of tunnel between both dimensions.
I don't know. I'm inclined to say the Chaos Emeralds can't. I mean, we know they can warp space and time with chaos control, but I don't think they can dimensionally tunnel. I think that's a Soul Emerald exclusive, because otherwise there would be no issue about them going back and forth. It would just be, let's assemble the emeralds, which is still a problem, but it would be a two-way street. If it's just Blaze and her emeralds that can open the way and make that connection work, that would explain why we haven't been able to use her or see her as much up to this point.
Smash Zapper 8527 is here with our last question. Ian, you've said before that you'd want to merge the Soul Dimension and Sonic's world together, Crisis on Infinite Earth style. My question is, would you have it that everyone remembers the universe as being separate, or would history be changed so that it was always one dimension? If it's the former, how would Blaze and Marine adjust to being in a dimension much more prone to world-ending events?
If we ever went the route of merging the worlds together, that is entirely for simplicity's sake, to make the soul worlds, locations and people and cultures and whatever more easily accessible to the novice. So adding some kind of temporal retcon to it would defeat that purpose. So yeah, in this imaginary scenario, I would pitch that they remember, it was a major adventure, a huge literal world changing event, and it's done now. We wouldn't necessarily bring it up all the time because that's narrative baggage that we're trying to avoid, but we wouldn't also, try to pretend it never existed, because it would be all the problems with 06 compounded again,
Mm-hmm.
As for problems being dealt with on the daily, we haven't seen the Soul Dimension that much. For all we know, Blaze is doing this kind of thing every Tuesday. Maybe she's kind of relieved that it only happens like once every 3 months here on Earth. How relaxing, how wonderful.
Could be. I mean, Eggman, he tends to take a lot of time in between his exploits of trying to take over the world. So maybe it's just world-ending Wednesdays. That's going to do it for this mini from Jara.
Thank you to Jara for sponsoring this mini and sponsoring so many of the standard Q&A. If you want to be generous like Jara, or just want a BumbleKast Mini all to yourself, head over to patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/BumbleKast, or become a YouTube member. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we will see you next time on the BumbleKast.
See you later, everybody.